For as long as I can remember, I have loved going to the movies. There is something so captivating and transformative about film. How a gifted screenwriter can turn incredible ideas into powerful words, summoning drama, humor, and conflict from the page like casting a spell. How an actor who knows their part better than they know themselves can breathe life into those words, creating a character who until that moment only existed on paper, and a performance with the potential to be remembered for generations to come. And how a director with vision and imagination can bind those rare elemental creative forces, fashioning them into a gateway able to draw you into whole other worlds, holding fast to your senses until the closing credits roll, and sometimes, if the job is well done, for far longer. My name is M. Glenn Gore. I'll be your host each week as we explore in depth the newest releases both in the theater and at home. You're watching In Like Glenn, and today we're discussing Tomb Raider. The following video review contains spoilers for the film Tomb Raider. Proceed with caution. Adapting a video game into a feature-length film is one of those things that shouldn't be as difficult as it apparently is, yet it seems to rank right up there with executing a perfect 10-point dive or trying to put a man on the surface of Mars. Oh what? You think I'm wrong? You don't believe me?
You will become a true believer.
Let's take a little trip down repressed traumatic memory lane, shall we? Ready? No?
Well, I'm going anyway.
May 28th, 1993 is one of those dates that will live in infamy. It was the ill-fated day the Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo-led Super Mario Bros. Movie released on an unsuspecting and undeserving populace. Coming in on the heels of Super Mario World, one of the game franchise's most beloved installments, a child in America didn't exist who wasn't bursting at the seams to see their favorite mustachioed, turtle-stomping Italian stereotypes explode onto the big screen. Then we watched it. Remember how that felt? It was, in a word, horrendous. Miscast from top to bottom and bearing nary even a passing resemblance to the games that inspired it, Super Mario Bros. Killed hopes and dreams the world over, forever shaking our faith as well as setting what would become a miserable precedent. Having learned nothing from the ordeal, Hollywood continued to chase the ever-elusive and untapped market that was video game lovers. 1994 brought us the cinematic equivalent of a root canal known as Street Fighter, which managed to be only slightly less offensive than Mario Bros., as the majority of the characters were at least recognizable when placed alongside their in-game counterparts. Well, mostly. For a moment there, it was starting to look like 1995 might prove to be the year we figured things out with the eagerly anticipated release of And while that did succeed in giving us two awesome, well-choreographed fight scenes, and a kinda cool-looking Goro that didn't rely on CGI, it also gave us some cringe-inducing acting and some truly heinous casting, such as Highlander's own Christopher Lambert as Thunder God Raiden.
Sorry.
And don't think for one second this nonsense stopped here. There was 1994's abysmal Double Dragon, 2005's meandering and lethargic Doom, 2006's Silent Hill and Dead or Alive, Max Payne, Hitman, Hitman Agent 47, another Silent Hill, another Street Fighter, another Mortal Kombat, Postal, Blood Rain, Need for Speed, House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, the 37 Resident Evil movies that mysteriously managed to get worse with each new chapter, and the two greatest offenders in recent memory, the impenetrably insular Warcraft, which openly and enthusiastically mocked you if you attempted to watch it without first playing the game, and the impossibly convoluted Assassin's Creed, a movie that deserves an award for somehow discovering a way to make people leaping across rooftops boring. To the best of my knowledge, and you're welcome to dispute me on this, there have only been two successful video game to film adaptations. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, which admittedly also leaned heavily on your prior knowledge of the game, and Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. I'm honestly reluctant to even count these, as the former was released in Japan, while the latter was a fan-made production that regrettably never made it into theaters, despite being a genuinely well-executed and meticulously crafted love letter to the time-honored franchise. Unfortunately, we're in no danger of breaking this streak, because Tomb Raider, the new film based on the adored globe-trotting, puzzle-solving, multi-platform adventures of renowned archaeologist and grave robber Lara Croft, while primarily shaped by the well-received 2013 video game series reboot of the same name, brings few innovative or inspired ideas to the long-running franchise. Directed by Roar Utaug of the 2016 disaster film The Wave, this sadly lackluster strike at jump-starting a brand new series seemingly devotes its entire runtime to setting up its own sequel, and while I don't have anything against sequels necessarily, I am vehemently opposed to any time filmmakers crank out a substandard first chapter with the mentality, don't worry, the really cool stuff happens in the next film. You know who you are. The truth is that this Tomb Raider simply does not earn any subsequent entries. The story, which is essentially just Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, stars the effortlessly engaging Alicia Vikander, whom you'll remember from the brilliant, critically acclaimed 2015 entry in the Never Trust a Sexy Robot genre, Ex Machina. Angelina Jolie gave us a much more seasoned Lara Croft in her 2 dismal outings, but Vikander's Tomb Raider takes a page from the Casino Royale playbook, offering us a younger, more carefree if not aimless Lara Croft, who, while blessed with ingenuity, drive, and no shortage of street smarts, has yet to be tempered in the perilous world-adventuring fires set before her. She has skill and heart, but is naive, new to danger, and does not in truth become the Lara Croft we know until the film's conclusion. Case in point, how the movie depicts a fight where she is forced to take a man's life with her bare hands is admirable. This is clearly the first person she has had to kill, and it's refreshing that the film takes the time to show you how the act affects her. So, Lara's father has gone missing while in search of a random MacGuffin device of some such pivotal archaeological import, and she must set out to bring him back. He was cautious yet theatrical enough to leave behind one of those "if you're watching this, it means I'm dead" videos, instructing her not to pursue him or his work, and to destroy all of his research. So obviously, she pulls a Grail Diary moment and delivers everything he was trying to keep secret and safe directly to the bad guy's doorstep.
I should have mailed it to the Marx Brothers. Will you take it easy?
That doorstep, by the way, is an uncharted island Croft finds herself shipwrecked and marooned on in a fairly exciting sequence that feels lifted straight out of Peter Jackson's King Kong. And that bad guy is the never unentertaining Walton Goggins of the superb Elmore Leonard-based crime drama series Justified and Quentin Tarantino's audacious 2012 slavery-era western Django Unchained. Now, I am an enormous fan of Goggins, so I understandably had very high hopes for him here, but if there is one thing that will never make sense to me, it's why talented actors get cast in roles where they're given nothing to do. Believe me when I say, Vikander is more than equal to the task of playing the new Lara Croft, but Goggins' Matthias Vogel has got to be the least interesting villain I've seen in almost 2 weeks. He's basically an archetype, and I know that because he's identical to the villain from the new Jumanji, which was kind of the point there, an unoriginal, run-of-the-mill video game boss. I was hoping he'd be at least as much fun as Christopher Walken's Hatcher was in 2003's The Rundown.
Whoa!
But Goggins does nothing to make the part his own. Vogel exists only as a mid-level enforcer for the nefarious Spectre-like Trinity group, the shadowy organization pulling all the proverbial strings here, who are so ephemeral and untouchable in this outing you never even fear Lara Croft might actually catch them. This is of course the whole idea. After all, we've got sequels to make.
God willing, we'll all meet again in Spaceballs 2, to search for more money.
They're out to discover Himiko's tomb and the remains of a mythical Yamatai queen who is believed to be able to control the powers of life and death. Infinity wants to weaponize whatever it was that granted Himiko such power and use it for their own dastardly ends. To achieve this goal, Vogel has amassed a large slave labor force comprised of local fishermen, which he uses to search for the crypt. These workers are kept in line by a small army of indiscriminate goons on Infinity's payroll, and therein lies another of the film's missed opportunities. Strap in, here comes a quick tangent. I love anytime a main villain is surrounded by a small but capable team of underlings. Added points if those underlings are prone to infighting.
I drink it up!
They're often fairly one-note characters, which is fine, because what you want here isn't depth. It's simple, memorable moments between them, personality quirks, and gimmicks, for lack of a better term, that make them each unique and notable. Because the whole reason these guys exist at all is so our protagonist can dispatch them in ascending order until all we're left with is the main bad guy and his or her most trusted right hand. Tomb Raider disappoints in this regard because Vogel's mercenaries are all nameless, nondescript, and uninteresting. They offer you no reason to remember them, which is regrettable because when Croft begins to take them each out, you want to be able to cheer for her, to be impressed that she was able to best these dangerous men. But it falls flat since all we've seen any of these guys do up to this point is run, shout, and fire automatic weapons. They haven't earned our disdain or even a desire to see them defeated, so when they are, there is little satisfaction to be had. I should talk about Lara Croft's father Richard for a second. Played by Dominic West of the exceptional HBO crime drama series The Wire and the visually compelling but obnoxious Zack Snyder period war epic 300, Lara discovers her father, lost for 7 years by this time, lurking about the island, and while West is a solid actor, it's difficult not to laugh when you're introduced to him, as he immediately strikes you as part Alan Parrish and part the god Tom Hanks played in Castaway. He's gone quite mad in his lengthy tropical seclusion, and this had the potential to be an intriguing plot point, yet the movie does away with it almost immediately, because that's how insanity works, apparently. Once Henry and Indy are reunited, they soon find themselves at the entrance to Himiko's tomb, which is my next gripe. Fans of the Tomb Raider games know that solving puzzles is a large part of the fun and the challenge. Video games are, by nature, interactive, and that's something that isn't easy to translate to the screen. Lara encounters a number of puzzles along the way, but she always solves them within seconds. This does damage in two ways. The first is that, while certainly illustrating how clever she is, it robs the scenes of any tension or crisis. Enigmas crop up, and Lara cracks them all in short order. She always just knows what to do, when to do it, and how, thus making the mysteries less, well, mysterious. The second is that the audience is never given the opportunity or the time to solve any of the riddles themselves, something I found surprisingly frustrating. If there was one aspect from the games that might have made the leap from the console to the screen, my money would have been on that. Now inside the tomb, the parallels to Last Crusade continue with what, Dr. Jones?
3 devices of such lethal cunning.
Booby traps?
Oh, yes.
Now look, I'm not daft. Indiana Jones didn't invent booby traps, and there are literally decades worth of adventure movies and video games out there who've done this all both before Harrison Ford donned the fedora and after.
Nice booby trap.
But when your 3 traps are literally blades that shoot up from the ground, a floor that collapses from underneath you one tile at a time, and a giant chasm, all while you're trying to reconcile with your estranged father who shares your passion for archaeology, only to learn the powerful ancient artifact you were both after kills you if you touch it, yeah, I'm gonna draw connections to Last Crusade. I have to address the poor CG and green screen work here too for a second. One of the film's big nail-biters is a very cool sequence that probably got spoiled for you by the damn trailer, where Lara must race across the collapsing wing of a bomber plane perched precariously at the edge of a waterfall. It's the kind of swashbuckling daring-do I pay to see in movies such as this, and to present me with a film sans such spectacle is a faux pas, to say the least. The scene is tense, reminding you of the gripping trailer sequence from The Lost World in a good way. But then, at the pivotal moment, the leap across the disintegrating wing, actual Swedish Hollywood actress Alicia Vikander is replaced by a not at all convincing CG model that moves like Woody from Toy Story. I know stuntmen and women are expensive, and that this kind of thing is dangerous, but they use the CG model a few times throughout the film, and it is distracting.
Every single time I see it!
The problem with this kind of approach is it wrecks the realism to the point where I find it difficult to reinvest myself in the drama because nothing is at stake here. No one's in any danger. It might as well be an episode of Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Right you are, Cannon.
Now, I don't mean to sound like I'm dumping on this film. There's good in it, to be certain.
Really?
It absolutely delivers on the title, so kudos for that, I guess. There's a cool bike chase early on that one might expect to be set up for a badass rip-roaring motorcycle sequence through the jungle later that, isn't. Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz's Nick Frost shows up for a few welcome seconds, and that's fun aplenty. Into the Badlands' awesome Daniel Wu is mildly effective as Lara's sidekick, even if he, like everyone else, isn't given much of a story arc. And the drunkenness he displays in his introductory scene, much like her father's island madness, doesn't come back into play. I'd love to see them both in a sequel directed by someone with greater ambition and fresher, more imaginative ideas because they're just wasted here. Gladiators, Derek Jacobi, Darkest Hours, Kristen Scott Thomas, even the kid at the deli where Lara makes deliveries who has a crush on her. Everything and everyone in Tomb Raider feels like a placeholder, set up for a sequel that is anything but a surefire bet this movie doesn't even try to persuade you to come back to stand in line for. Alicia Vikander deserves a solid shot at making this franchise work because she's practically the only thing in the movie that stands out. I believe she has what it takes, and I'd be thrilled to have her back in the role, but if bigger, bolder measures aren't taken going forward, this series may find itself in a tomb of its own. I'm giving Tomb Raider 2.5 stars. That's it for today's episode. As always, thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter for more updates. Until next time, you were just in like Glenn.